Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Faith Place Chicago Sunday School Experience. I am your Sunday School instructor for the month, Brother Mike Wiley, saying greetings and salutations in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Listen, barring a couple of technical difficulties, we are here and we are live, and we thank God just for another Sunday. We thank God for another Sunday school as I adjust my light here, make sure we good. Y'all can see me. I can make sure everything's in focus. All right, we good to go. But we just thank God for another Sunday. We thank God for another Sunday school. We just thank God for just being God all by Himself, how He brought us through yet another week, safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. And I thank God for all of you, those of you all that will be joining us live, and those that will be watching this at a later time. We just thank God. We thank God for the support. We thank God for just how you guys continue to just how the Lord just continues to bless. Listen, it's times is getting a little crazy out there. And but we thank God that He is yet a keeper and a provider and just an all around great God. Okay, there's my counterpart. Looks like she got everything worked out. All right.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Hello.
think I can. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Girl, what you using, a laptop or a tablet? You were blurry over there. Gotta take care of these lips, y'all, because in this time of year, you got a little extra melanin in your skin. I don't know what it is about melanin in the wintertime, but they do not work together. My goodness. So we gotta make sure we get that taken care of. Yes, yes. All right, you good? She's still working at it. All right. You all right? Can you hear me? Why's your mic mute, sweetheart?
I'm sorry. Yes, I can
There
hear
you
you.
go. All right, all right.
Right.
Thanking God for just being God and thanking Him for the Sunday school
Yes.
and for those that are watching and those that will watch at a later time. We just thank God for all the wonderful things, and we thank God for our co-instructor, my wonderful wife, Evangelist Wiley. God bless you.
God bless you.
Okay. Did you? Oh, I thought you froze up.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just
Okay.
pulling up extra materials. That's cool.
You pulling up some? Hey, oh, all right. You ready to dive on in?
No, no. I was just pulling off the app. It's okay. You be making
No, no,
fun
no.
of
That's
me.
good, actually. That's actually good. Look, I think we got a good lesson for
It's a
today.
great lesson. Yeah.
And this is one of those lessons that you really have to, you really want to take it almost scripture by scripture, so you can get a better understanding of,
Yeah.
because one thing that we try to do with the Sunday school experience, we talk about application. And I believe that when you talk about application of the word, it's important because hearing the word is one thing, but
Yeah.
understanding the word and understanding how it applies to your life
Us.
and how
Yeah.
you can use the word is important. And many of us, though we have the knowledge of the word, we lack application of the word. And so that application and how to use that word is vital to just being able to just navigate this walk. This isn't a cakewalk. This isn't something that you just by happenstance come into. This is something that if you live it right, and if you apply the directions that the Lord has provided us, you can live a successful life. And so we thank God for the word, and we thank God for the application of the word. So listen, how about we just dive right on in? Our lesson on today is listen to God's judges. And it's coming from the book of Judges, the second chapter, and it's the 11th through the 19th verse. Now, the hopes for this lesson is that we can we can evaluate and understand why we need to listen and obey God's commands. And then also we should be able to compare the impact of our obedience versus our disobedience in regards to our relationship with the Lord, because there's it's important to understand, right? So that's the hope for this lesson. Our golden text for this lesson comes from the 17th verse, which it says, "And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a whoring. They went a whoring after other gods and bowed themselves unto them." So that's our golden text for today, and our scripture reading again comes from the second chapter of Judges, beginning at the 11th through the 19th verse. You have such a wonderful reading voice, my darling. Can you go ahead and read the scripture for this lesson?
Okay. Judges 2:11 through 19. The Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight and served the images of Baal. They abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors, who had brought them out of Egypt. They went after other gods, worshiping the gods of the people around them. They angered the Lord. They abandoned the Lord to serve Baal and the images of Ashtoreth. This made the Lord burn with anger against Israel. So he handed them over to raiders who, who stole their possessions. He turned them over to their enemies all around, and they were no longer able to resist them. Every time Israel went out to battle, the Lord fought against them, causing them to be defeated, just as he had warned. And we'll read that back in Exodus. And the people were in great distress. Then the Lord raised up judges, sorry, lost my place, to
No,
rescue
you're
the
all
Israelites from the attackers. Yet Israel did not listen to the judges, but prostituted themselves by worshiping other gods. How quickly they turned away from the path of their ancestors, who had walked in obedience to the Lord's commands. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge over Israel, he was with that judge and rescued the people from their enemies throughout the judge's lifetime. For the Lord took pity on his people who were burdened by oppression and suffering. But when the judge died, the people returned to their corrupt ways, behaving worse than those who had lived before them. They went after other gods, serving and worshiping them, and they refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways.
right. All right. Good morning, Sister Regina. Look, we already got a question. What does a whoring means? The scripture says that the people went a whoring. And that's separated. That A and that whoring is separate. The people went a whoring after other gods. Well, first of all, you gotta understand what a whore is.
Let's be
Let's just
honest.
let's just keep it a buck, as they say. You gotta understand what a whore is. And we pretty much know what that is. For those of you
Let's
that may have came up in a more urban upbringing, you know what a hoe is. And what the people did when it said, I mean, look,
But it's
we
it's it's true. When you talk about a whore, you talk about a
come
prostitute.
on.
Those
That's
who
what
give
it
their
is. Go ahead.
bodies, you're right.
Hmm.
You give yourself, right, for pay, right,
To anyone and everyone.
to anyone and everyone.
To anyone and everyone. And so the people of Israel, when it says that they went a whoring after other gods, They literally, it was like almost any god they found attractive, they went after. Instead of being, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but instead of being faithful to God, they more or less disregarded him and
Yep.
disobeyed him and went after other gods. Like, hey, that god looks interesting, and oh, look at them. They worshiping that golden calf, or oh, look at them. They worshiping that giant turtle or whatever. I don't know what they were. Well, I don't know what the idols were back then. But whatever other god it seemed like other people or other cultures were worshiping,
Yep.
instead of serving the true and living God,
Yep.
Israel decided that they wanted to go after the other gods that everybody else was serving. And I don't know if
Right.
that's because maybe they didn't want to live under the rules and the commandments that God had set. Who knows? But that was the position that they took. So when it talks about how they went whoring after other gods, that's what that means.
And
So I hope that. Mhm.
one thing that really, when you talk about, going after other gods to serve them, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You have,
Good morning, Sister Jackie.
they,
God bless you,
they
darling.
did so many things. Like, there were things that they did, and we'll find out later on down the ways that they weren't just worshiping other gods. They were sacrificing children. They were
Hmm.
um, really doing sexual immorality to um, to those gods, but couldn't
Yeah.
serve the true and living God. So the one that brought them out, the one that did all of those things for them. So, you know, it just, it just, it's strong words, but you have to understand the meaning because, like, there's another word in here in the 12th chapter, and it says that Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served images of Baal, just the image,
It's an image.
he's not
It
real.
wasn't even a, it's
Images,
just
different
the
things that they
image
built,
of
different images of Baal. They
it. Hmm.
abandoned the Lord,
Yeah.
and abandon is a strong word, and
That's
it
what it
means
is.
to give up completely, right?
Mhm.
To sup- to to cease to support or to look after someone, to desert them. Do you know how many people have abandonment issues now, where they feel
Mhm.
like they're the people that are supposed to be in their corner, the people that are supposed to be for them, they just leave. And that is and sometimes I don't think we don't understand that God has feelings, right? That he hurts. Not only is he a wonderful God, does he bless us, but he hurts. He laughs, he hurts. It said Jesus wept. So when you abandon, just think about how you feel when you're abandoned, right? Whether it was from your
Mhm.
mother, whether it's from your father, your spouse, your children, you feel like these people have turned their backs on you. How would it
Mhm.
make you feel? And this is the things that the children of Israel had made God feel, that he had to use such a strong word as abandon.
Let's flip the script. There's a lot of people that felt that God had abandoned them. Think about it. Some of us have been in situations. If we gonna keep it real, some of us have been in situations where we felt that the Lord wasn't listening, that He didn't care, that He was not there, and there was all of these things that we were feeling. We were frustrated, we were mad, we were upset, and we would sit up there, and you know what we would do? We would start running down the list of things that we did. But Lord, I went to service faithfully. I gave my tithe. I gave my offering. I fed the hungry. I clothed the naked. I did this, I did that. And I don't understand why you are not inclining your ear unto me. Why are you not listening to me? Why are you not answering my prayers? Now, flip those feelings and see how God felt. When here I
Yep.
am, I chose you as my people. I
Yep.
brought you out, and we're getting a little ahead of the lesson, but I brought you out of bondage. Not only did I bring you out of bondage, but I literally split an ocean for you. I split an ocean for you. I brought you across, I brought not an ocean, but a sea. I split a sea for you. I brought you across safely. I drowned your pursuers. And in the process of me leading you to a land that I promised that I was going to give you, and you weren't even going to have to do nothing for it. I'm leading you to a land that's a blessed land for you. I gave you water when you were thirsty. I gave you bread from heaven when you were hungry. I led you at night by fire. I
Yeah.
led you by smoke in the daytime. I brought you out of so many different things, and you still gonna turn your back on me? How dare you?
Right.
How
Right.
dare you?
Right.
And
A
just
God that loved you.
imagine imagine being a parent.
Right.
Imagine being a parent and you have a kid and you put everything into this child.
Right.
Everything.
And they
You
curse you.
you you
They come
raise
up
you
against you.
raise
They
them. Yeah, and
rebel.
they
Dude.
rebel against you, and you sacrifice for years to make sure that they had, and you fed them, and you clothed them, and you tried to put them in the best
You was
schools and extracurricular activities, and all these things that you did for this kid. And then when he get up in age, or she gets up in age, she curses you, and she hates the very ground that you walk on, and he or she
yes.
rebels against you. You don't think that that won't hurt?
And you know what? Let me tell you something. The difference between us and God is God don't get real for real. If you ask for forgiveness, he's going to forgive you and turn around. Some of us it takes us a little while,
Yep.
right? You don't
Takes us a
speak
little
to me.
while.
You gonna turn your back on me? Okay, let me see how you feel out there by yourself.
Absolutely. Good
And
morning, Brother
sometimes the
John. God
Lord,
bless you.
and there are some things that the Lord may have to step back from us because we do have to understand how He feels. Because sometimes you really
Yeah.
don't understand what people are going through until you walk a little mile in their shoes. You really don't understand, right?
Yep.
You don't understand. You didn't understand how God felt until when you got in battle. He went against you like you turned against him. You didn't understand it. And so here, when they said it, they went after other gods, worshiping the gods of the people around them, and it angered the
Hmm.
Lord.
Yep.
So why is this significant? Because
Well,
in a
well,
previous lesson,
where are you? Where are you in the
I'm at
lesson?
12,
Because we don't
the
want to
12th
get
the 12th verse. It's the second
the
verse.
12 verse. Okay, all right. Because I don't want to get. I didn't want to get too far ahead because it kind of seemed
Right.
like we jumped. All right. So we're on
No,
the 12th verse. I'm sorry. Go
we're
ahead,
on
baby.
the 12th verse. And it says, and they went after other gods, worshiping the gods of the people around them. Why is that
Hmm.
significant? We need to go to, I think it was Exodus. Let's go to Exodus. And you know what? Let me tell you something. In my Bible, I want
Hmm.
to say is, hold on,
Uh-oh.
Exodus 23. Let's go to Exodus 23. So,
Okay.
um, so in my Bible, the
Is it just your Bible?
label probably because I don't know how it's titled in other
Oh, okay.
Bibles, because some Bibles they make references to what's important to them, whoever was the publisher of that work of that Bible. Like in my
Got you.
Bible, the heading says the incomplete victory,
Okay.
which is very symbolic to me. I like that. In other Bibles it doesn't have that same heading, but it says the incomplete victory. Why was it an incomplete victory? So we're going to read a little bit of what God's instructions were to Israel, right? Because
Hmm.
they were going into the land of Canaan. Okay. Here they're in that land of Canaan, and he told them, don't take on the gods of the people around them. So we're going to
Hmm.
go to Exodus um 8, the first verse. Let me see. Exodus 23. And I'm going to go to um the 18th verse. It
All right.
says,
Let me see if I can pull it up for them so they can see it. What is it again?
hold on. I think I got I think it's Exodus 23. Is it Exodus
Mhm.
23? Did I get the wrong verse? Hold on. It's in my notes. 23:20. Okay.
23
All right. And 20.
and
Okay.
20. All right.
Right. So it says, see, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and bring you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. So do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion. They're talking about God. Since
Mhm.
my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies, and I will oppose those that oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Right? Do not bow down before their gods and worship them or follow their practices. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship the Lord your God, and his blessing will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry
Mhm.
or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan, right? I will send my
Mhm.
terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run, right? But when you get to where they were supposed to take the city, right? Where they were supposed to
Mhm.
take it, most of them, including Benjamin, Judah, Manasseh. If you go to Judges, the first chapter, and then we go to the 18th verse, let's go to Judges, the first chapter. Let's go turn it back one. So if you go to Judges, the first chapter, they did not do that, right? What did they do? Okay. So if we go to the first chapter, the 18th verse, it says Judah also, it says, let's go 17. The men of Judah went with the Simeonites to their fellow and with their fellow Israelites and attacked the Canaanites, leaving in Zephath, and they totally destroyed the city. Therefore, it's called Hormah. Judah took Gaza, Ashkelon, Ekron, each city with its territory. The Lord was with the men of Judah. They took possession of the hill country, but they were unable to drive the people from the plains because they had chariots filled with iron. The Benjamites, however, did not drive out the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the Benjamites, right? And if I don't go on to do all of it, at each instance, they failed to obey and drive the people out of the land, which made them susceptible to what they had a normal inclination of doing, which was when I get in distress, when I get nervous, when I feel this way, when I feel like God is not answering, I'm going to serve other gods. I'm going to look for a solution. And they with with the people that were around, and God knew you have a proclivity to serve other gods. I need you to remove all the people, but they didn't do it. They weren't obedient. Each tribe was not obedient. So therefore, what happened is, and in the 13th chapter, it says they abandoned the Lord to serve Baal and the images of Ashtoreth. Ashtoreth is a female god, right? So they went in and the images of and served Baal and the images of Ashtoreth, and that's a female god. She was naked on the stallion. You can look it up on the internet, but you can see those images of her. And they went and they served the images of Ashtoreth and the people around them, and it angered God. I mean, it If you can see the history of it, this is why God, there's a reason. And sometimes you don't understand the reason the Lord tells you to come out from among them and be ye separated. The reason he tells you that is because there are times where you may not be strong enough to resist, right? What you have allowed to be in your circle because you're human
Hmm.
and God
Right.
understands that. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
talked a lot. I was
That's
excited.
a. But in this particular case, the main reason was is that you were just disobedient,
You were
right?
disobedient.
Because what did he say? They really violated the first of because the commandments were what how you are to be to how the people were to be towards God and how they
Yep.
were to be towards each other, right? Those
Yes.
are the two main themes of the Ten Commandments. You violated the first thing, which was thou shalt have no other gods before me. And instead of them holding true to that, they, as the scriptures say, went a whoring after
After.
other gods. The Israelites had a continued pattern of abandoning God. They had
Right.
a pattern of doing it, right? And
They
so
had a
now
pattern of being influenced by others.
by
Like they were
others. So
influenced by the people that they allowed to stay in their camp.
yeah,
Instead of you being the influencer, instead of them following you, you followed them.
right. And so now here they are. They went after. They wanted to worship. They wanted to worship the Canaanite gods. You. He's trying to give you Canaan, and you want to go in there and try to blend in with Canaan, right? So they
Right.
wanted to worship Baal and they wanted to worship Asherah. And God was like, "Listen, this is evil." He deemed it as evil behavior, and he felt that that was an abandonment because, as I said, all of those things that he did, and it's like you just had all of a sudden spiritual amnesia,
And
like you just forgot everything that he
they
did, and so you're supposed to be a representation of me, not the rest of the world.
well, because and here's the thing. This is why God says, walk by faith and not by sight. I'm showing you, and he showed them firsthand his power, what he could do, what I'm gonna allow you to overcome. But still, when they got in that land of Canaan, where they saw giants, right? Because what did the
Mhm.
spies say? There are giants in the land. You see the giants, you see them living in this place, and no longer want to um I no longer want to take the city. I just want to sit down and I want to blend in.
Hey, I just want to chill. I have
I
no
just want to blend
desire.
in.
I have no desire to try to take it
What you
because,
doing?
well,
Oh, that
we
looks
probably
good.
right. We probably can't take it no way because most of them didn't even think that they could take it. So they was like, yeah, we just gonna go in Canaan and chill. But God was mad. He was like, listen, y'all did it. You all are doing evil because you have abandoned me. You're worshiping other God. And you made a very good point. You have to be careful with the stuff that you're trying to blend in with,
Yep,
right? Because look, when
man.
Baal was considered to be a god of storms and rains, right? And the people of Canaan thought that he controlled vegetation and agriculture, and then Asheroth was believed to be the mother of goddess and of love and of
Goddess, yes.
war and
She was an
fertility,
Egyptian. You're right.
right?
She was an Egyptian. You talk about
So
Zeus and all of those. She was an Egyptian and
yeah,
Greek goddess.
so now, not only are you worshiping idol gods, but then you also have to understand that you are also worshiping temple prostitution and
Yes,
child sacrifice because
man.
that was part of the
That was
Canaanites'
part.
worship.
That was part of it.
And
They'd
God was
go,
like, no, no,
man.
if you know what?
Guess
No, I'm
what?
not going to do that.
And they would go before their mic. And here's the thing, another thing that they were doing is that they were exchanging clothes. Men would put on
Hmm.
clothes of the women, and the women would put on clothes of the men. It was so perverted. And you
Yeah,
go there and you mix in with that. I'm
yep,
a holy God. I represent holiness and truth. And this is what you're doing. I'm
yep,
mad. I'm angry.
yep.
So then in the 14th verse, what does it say? He said, this made the Lord burn with anger against Israel. So
Hmm.
he handed them over to raiders who stole their possessions. You know what? And we said that before, like when you were talking and you were like, we tell God, well, God, I've done this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And we count down the list of all the things that we tell the Lord that we did. And God would turn around and say, but that was what you were supposed to do. I told you to be obedient and
Did you
follow
do
me in your
this thing?
did you do it? All of that was good, sacrifice,
Right.
but you didn't do this thing. You rebelled against me. I told you, I sent you, I gave you instructions, you refused to do it. Instead, instead you were lukewarm. You were
Right.
compromising. So now I have to step back because I cannot allow you, I cannot afford for you to think that where you are now and this thing that you're doing is what's blessing you. I'm blessing you. So we
Absolutely.
wonder why we wonder sometimes why God is silent. And I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying that as an overlapping thing, but sometimes we wonder why God is silent. Because here we are, we have run down the things that we have sacrificed, but not the
Mhm.
things that we were obedient at,
Mm,
you know.
that's a very good point. I like that's actually really good. I like that. See, girl, you're all right with me. So look, let's look at the 15th verse. The
Yeah.
15th verse said, every time, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation,
Yes.
every
Every
time
time.
Israel went out into battle, the Lord fought against them,
Yep.
causing them to be defeated, just as he
Just
had
as
warned, and the
he
people
warned them.
were in great distress. Now you have to understand that this wasn't what was happening to the children of Israel was not by happenstance. This
Nope.
was punishment.
This was and
This
this
was
was and I want to say punishment, but this is the
no, it was punishment.
this is the repercussions. This is what is the repercussions? Um, or you know how if you're obedient, I'm gonna bless you with this. But if you're disobedient, this is what's gonna happen to you. This is the
It
repercussions
was
of you.
no,
Yep.
this was you got to understand. Mercy hadn't come yet.
Right. I know.
God was a God of judgment at that time. He was like, I'm not messing with y'all. This was pun. Every time Israel went out to battle, they lost
They
because
lost
you
because
gotta
they
you gotta
did not
understand
follow what they were supposed to do.
they didn't follow what they were supposed to do, but also it's because God took his protection from around them.
He t- and he fought against them. He was with their enemies.
He literally said,
But he
okay,
warned them, if you do this, this is
yeah.
what's gonna happen. If you
And
don't
it
do
was
that and you go whoring after other gods, you're gonna be utterly destroyed.
right. So
It's a consequence of their sin.
this was punishment of the Israelites because look, he fought against he took his protection away from them. He fought against them every time he went out into it says that the Lord himself
Lord
can you
himself.
imagine?
Mm.
Just 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 think about that for me. The Lord himself fi- fighting against you. You're not winning.
No, no,
You're not going to overcome.
you're
You're
not
not
gonna
going
win.
to prevail. You are losing this fight.
You're
The
going to
Lord
lose.
him the Lord himself fought against them. And so because they were no match, it was like every time they went out into battle, they lost. And so because of their disobedience, because they were disobedient, it demanded judgment. It required judgment because
Swiftly.
it's swift. He couldn't let that slide.
He couldn't,
You know
cause
what I'm
he was
saying? It's like, look, if I'm God and I'm telling people how great I am and how powerful I am, and
my
I'm all of these
reputation is at
things,
stake.
my reputation is at stake. I can't sit up there and let not on my watch. I can't sit up there and let you get away with this. No, I can't let it slide, fam. I can't do it. I got to do something. I have to do something. And
Because
so
you are a representation of the Lord. you're representing me. But then, you know
Yep.
what? But then, as God always does, like He's better than us. Because sometimes
Yeah.
we hold some stuff and He said, okay, the people I ain't just judge. I'm going to raise up judges. I'm going to speak through the judges, right? All right. Two, He says, and then the Lord raised up judges to rescue the Israelites from their attackers.
Hmm.
Yet Israel did not listen to the judges, but prostituted themselves again
Wait, now are
by
we? Is
worshiping
this
others.
verse 16?
This
Did
is
you go
verse
ahead to 16?
16,
All right.
16,
So
right?
let's read 16. So
See,
16
I
here.
just read it.
What did it say? Oh, okay.
Then
I'm
the Lord
sorry.
raised up judges to rescue the Israelites
Oh,
from
I'm
their
sorry. You read.
attackers.
Go ahead. I'm
I
right.
did.
My bad.
Uh, Yet Israel did not listen to the judges, but prostitute themselves, going to 17, by worshiping other gods. How quickly they turned from the path of their ancestors who had
Hmm.
walked in obedience to the Lord's commands.
Right.
He raised up judges, right, to help them. And yet again, they couldn't come out from among them. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge over Israel, 18, he was with that judge and rescued the people from their enemies throughout the judge's lifetime.
Hmm. So
For the
here's the. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Go
go
ahead, babe.
ahead. No,
No,
go
no,
ahead.
finish it. So here's the thing. We're talking about it. We're talking about Israel. We talked about how they had a pattern of disobedience,
A
right?
pattern.
Israel had a literal cycle of sin.
Man,
And we're gonna break it down. So
let's
here's the
break that
cycle.
down. What's a cycle? Yeah.
So the cycle was they would rebel against God, right? Second thing they would do after they would rebel against God, what did they do then? They would experience God's punishment, which normally involved their enemies, normally overrunning them, overpowering them, overtaking them, right?
Right.
Then after their enemies overtook them, what would they do? They would
Cry
cry out to God
and
for
go back
deliverance,
to the real God.
right. So they cried out to God for deliverance, and then what would He do? He would raise up a judge to deliver the Israelites from their enemies, and then what's the next thing they would do? They would remain loyal to God
Noisy.
until the judge's death.
That. Yep.
They
And they will
remained
go.
faithful to God until the judge died, right? So as long as they were near the appointed judge, they was loyal to him. Then after that judge died, what happened? All of a sudden, they
They
forgot
go
about
on
the
down
covenant with God
for
after
God.
the judge's death. And then what would happen? They would after so now they're suffering punishment again because now since they forgot about the covenant, God again let them suffer punishment because He allowed the enemy to overtake them again. And then what would happen? Then they would cry out yet again to God for
Man.
deliverance. And so what would God do? He would raise up another judge, and then the cycle would continue. Israel had a pattern of disobedience and abandonment. And I know it's a strong word, but that's what they did. They had a pattern of forgetting what folks did. Listen, let me tell you something. And you're right, God is better than we are. Because if you kept doing something for a person, and every time you turned around, that person just seemed to forget the stuff that you did, and they turned their back on you, and they start bad mouthing you, and they always wanted to go and be with somebody else. You ain't tolerating that. You don't even want you ain't you listen. You wouldn't even deal with that foolishness. You're gonna be like,
Yeah.
fine, you go where you want to go. Do what you want to do, or as they say, you do you, boo boo, because I'm not going to deal with you. But
Right.
God, in His mercy and His continued mercy and His continued grace, every time the children of Israel cried out, He delivered.
Okay. I was looking at the one that come, but it's you know, and we talk about even ourselves, and I
Hmm.
don't know if I told you one time. Sometimes we're in a constant cycle, right? This
Yeah.
thing, if we don't, you know, I was talking about Eric's 7 stages of Eric's stages. Let me get it up. Eric's stages of development, right?
Hmm.
And he has 8 stages of development, right? And 8 stages of development is early childhood, 3 to 6 years, you know, initiative versus gift, and then you have middle age is 7 to 10 with industry versus inferiority. But every time you go through a cycle, you keep going through that life cycle or through that stage until you overcome that stage. We wonder why sometimes at different points in our life where we are still like, man, why do I have the same mindset in this area? Why can't I break the cycle? Right? And Israel, well, they just could not break the cycle. I keep going, but that is because a lot of times we don't come out from amongst what we want God to deliver us, but yet sit in the same seat. So
Mm,
Israel we sitting in the same seat, right? We asking God, God, I can't seem to master this. I can't seem to master this. And all he's saying is move. Get get do what I told you to do. Drive them out so
mhm,
that or either you move or take away everything in there that's not like me. And a lot of times we don't want to do that. We want to sit in the same space and say, God, please deliver me. He does just what he does just that. He
mm,
delivers you, right? But then you sit there for a while, you going right back to the same thing that you've been doing all the time. Why? Because you haven't changed. You haven't changed. You're still sitting with the same group of people that are still the influencers. And when we get delivered, when we get delivered, we have to be around people that are stronger than we are and that are doing the things that we want to do because then you can grab hold to that strength. If not,
mhm.
you are still weak. You're human.
Yep.
You're human. You're going through these stages of I have to go from here to be strong and mature in an area, but you still want to be around the people that are worshiping other gods and think you are strong enough to maintain yourself. You are not.
Hmm. And on the flip side of that coin, you wonder why God was upset or why he was hurt or why he felt abandoned, right? And look at
Right.
17. What does 17 say? It says, and yet, or and still, they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went whoring after other gods, and they bowed themselves unto them, and they turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord. But they didn't do so. When you look at how Israel just continued, and they kept on wanting to worship idol gods, it was like you got to ask the question, why was Israel so? Why were they so prone to going after other gods, right? And when we talk about a horn, we talked about that earlier, committing adultery, behaving like harlots. They were just constantly going after these other gods when they were supposed to be faithful to the one true God, right? They were supposed to give their complete allegiance to Him, like their ancestors did.
Right.
So it's like here he is, he's doing all of these things. He brought them out, he did all these things, all of these great, wonderful things. And even now, still, even in your disobedience, he's providing you judges and he's doing all this stuff. Why are you still chasing after the other gods? And it was because they felt like God just wasn't big enough to meet their needs.
And I
Can
don't
can I no can you imagine? Because what other reason could it have been?
you
And,
know
and
what?
imagine, and I get influence because here's the thing. If somebody is doing, you know what that's like? That's like you being in a relationship and your man or your woman is doing everything for you that they humanly possibly can. They treating you right. They making you feel how you want to be feel. They doing everything that a person should do within a relationship. And yet, somebody comes along, whispers in your ear, show you a few things, show you a little something, and then you go and be with that other person. Why? It's because you felt that that person wasn't doing everything that they should have been doing or that they could have done. Because if they were doing everything that you wanted them to do, that other person wouldn't have been able to pursue you so easily. They wouldn't have
but
been able to lead you. They wouldn't have been able to lead you away like that. Israel was just finicky, man.
it's and I don't think that they did not know about the awesomeness of God or didn't think that
Oh, I didn't
because
say that. They knew it.
because they
They
wouldn't go
knew how
back.
awesome God was.
But
They
they
knew how awesome God was, but in all the
right.
awesome things that He did, they still didn't believe that it was enough because obviously they were chasing after other gods.
But here's the thing. It says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful that he will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. And he understood that they were not able to bear the temptation of the neighboring, the people that were living there, because they're going to go do what God knows,
But that would
right?
be counter. But see, in my head, that's counter. And I may be wrong. But if you knew that they would not be able to resist the temptation, why punish them for the very thing that you knew they wouldn't be able to do? Why are you upset?
Because he told them, drive those people out of the land. They didn't do it.
But you
That's
knew
not
they
on
weren't going to
him.
do it.
They that's not on God though.
But you knew they were not going to
God
do it.
God knew they weren't that God knew that they had a propensity to do it. He told them, drive them out of the land. The land is yours, utterly destroy. Did
That's
they do
crazy.
it?
And look,
But
I'm
did
not
they
saying
do
that
it?
this. No, but I'm not saying that that's
No.
not right. But that's just like if I go in there and I say, "All right, son, I need you to do this, 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 and this," and I know in my heart that this Negro ain't gonna do it. How am I going to get mad at him for not doing it when I
But you
know he
choose.
wasn't gonna do it?
But here's the thing, but you choose. Like when we talk about God gives us a free will choice. He says, if you do this, I'm going to reward you. If you don't do it, this is the consequence. And he gives you although he knows he gives you the ability to choose, he gave them an instruction. Do it. They didn't do it. And they flat out
I
refused to give up their they flat out refused to give up their stubborn ways. Flat out refused.
I
God,
understand
God
all of
is not
that.
a God that's gonna make you do anything. I'm not
Right.
gonna make you do right. I'm not gonna make you serve me.
Hmm.
Neither will I'm gonna put a perfect picturesque picture in front of you so that he'll give you the perfect storm and you'll still choose a perfectly smooth road, but you'll still
Hmm.
choose to go in the mountains.
Right. But that I wasn't questioning that. My question was why? Why did they continue to do so? Why did they continue to go after idol gods when God continuously remember it's a cycle. This is a cycle. Every time they get in trouble, they cry out to God when they're in trouble. Why didn't they cry out to Baal? Why didn't they cry out to Ashereth? Right? They cried
Because
out to
they
God.
knew who could deliver them, but they
But this is my point. If they knew this, why were they so easily swayed to go to these
that's your
other gods?
flesh, because it's in them. It was their flesh. It was in them, and I know we did not have Holy Spirits, quote unquote, as coming
Hmm.
into us to help us, but God was there, right? They could speak to the priest who spoke to God. God had things in place there for them. They chose. You choose. Even back then, they had a choice. Now
Yeah.
the penalty was more severe back then, but now we have mercy, right?
Right.
Thank God. Thank
But
God, because I would have been
the
burnt up.
my point is that I believe that the reason why God felt the way that He did was that He probably looked at that like, "Am I not good enough for you?"
Right. And
Out
I
of
and
out
I
of
agree with that.
you
I
you,
agree
you
with that
understand what I'm and
sentiment from God,
that's what I'm trying to
not
say.
on
It's
the
like
end of them. I agree
all of,
that sentiment from God. I do agree with that. Am I
right, and
not enough?
that's what I was trying to get to. So, but that's all right. Nothing wrong with the thing. But that's what I was
Yes, it
trying to
was.
get to is
But
that
that ain't what you said.
but I was trying to get there, but you didn't let me get there. So, but God was looking at them like, what what do I need to do? What what do I need to do for you Negroes? Check my receipts, man.
Right.
Look at who I am. Look at what
But
I've
look,
done.
but
Look
we
at
do
the
it now.
history. And you still,
But we
you
do it now.
still decide to go. And the crazy thing is, it's like even now,
We do it now.
we
We
do,
do
we
it
do, we
now.
do, we do it
Because God
now.
says you're gonna lose this if you don't change your ways. You're gonna lose this. And you still don't change your ways.
Yep.
You still won't. You still won't humble yourself. You still won't
Yeah.
submit yourself to the plan of God. And not even just to God's purposes. God tell you to do something and you know he mean business and you still won't
Mhm.
do it. We don't
Absolutely.
we refuse some of us and I used to be like, oh, they're so harsh, you know. No, because you made a choice to refuse to change, to refuse to give up evil practices, as it says in verse 19, and your
Mhm.
stubborn way.
Yeah.
Because
What
what
is it?
you
It
want,
says, and it came to pass when the judge was dead that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, and following other gods to serve them and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doing, nor from their stubborn ways.
they did not cease. And here's the thing we want is we don't want to live up to the standard God has created. What we want is for God to bless us within our stubborn ways. We're going to sit here and we're going to make God do
Right.
what we want him to do. We don't want to live up to the standard of God, knowing he's a holy God. We don't want to do that. It is a trend that we just want God to bless us where we are. I just got to be me. This is who I am. I
You know what that
this
reminds
this
me
is who
of?
I am.
That reminds me of this generation now.
Right. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And I could do what I want to do. I can go and let's just be honest and real, right? I can go do this. I could fornicate. I could do all of the youthful lust that they say in the word. And I'm gonna go
Youthful
to church
lust.
and I'm gonna go to church and the Lord's gonna bless me.
Hmm.
And God and here's the thing. God does love you.
He does.
God loves you to the moon and back. He thinks the world of you. You are the apple of his eye. But don't think for 1 minute that if in the end, when it comes to I told you to give that stuff up, that you will not feel the wrath of the Father that you asked for.
Yep.
You say, I love you, God. I give my life to you. But you don't want to do what I say? I still love you. I love you. And because you do, and because you follow XYZ, I'm gonna bless you because that's what my words say. But oh, you're not getting in the kingdom if listen, he said, I prophesied in your name, I did this in your name, I did, but I didn't know you. You weren't obedient to me. Your heart wasn't right before me. And so
Right.
yet and still we still Israel, you still going back. And God is showing you time after time again, I'm not gonna be in your stuff. You either gonna serve me for real, or what they say, what's that slang? Serve me 100.
What? That is. Stop it. Just stop. I don't even know what
You
the.
gonna
What
be
are you
with me
talking
what?
about?
You gonna be with me 100? Ain't that
What?
the slang?
No, that's not how you say. Oh my God, you are so old. I don't understand. What? How old are you? Oh Jesus!
Oh, I'm
He would be
tickled.
100. What? That is not. That is not how you use that. I'm sorry. It's just something is
I
wrong
had
with
to
you.
laugh at that myself. Oh, I'm tickled.
You look, and here's the messed up part. You knew you had that wrong before you even said it.
No,
That's the
no, I
crazy
didn't.
part.
Listen, I was trying and I didn't realize. I said, wait a minute, that ain't right.
Oh Lord, you had to think about how to, you had to think about
That
how
ain't
to
the
say
right
it.
metaphor. That's not the
Oh
right
my
one.
God.
Oh, I'm
Listen,
tickled.
this is a great
This
this is
was
a
a great
great
lesson.
lesson. And you know
All
what's
right.
crazy is when you
Okay.
when you when you
Listen.
when you look at it,
Good.
it's like you look at you look at how God loved Israel. Like he
Right.
legitimately loved
He
Israel.
really did.
Like
Really, really
like
did.
unconditionally, because at any moment he really could have just left them to their own devices, and that would have been it. And
Yes.
he would have went on and did something else and raised up another people. But God loved Israel, and because he did, he he dealt with the he dealt with the stuff that they did. He
Right.
dealt with their rebellion. He
He dealt
dealt with
with
their unfaithfulness, and he kept on providing. He kept on delivering. He
but
kept
here's the
on
thing,
being great. And you know what's crazy? He is doing that even still today.
but we don't ever
Because
think about it, Mike. Like if we really
Mhm.
think about the words that he used, if we really understood how people felt, we will make a change. Like
Yeah,
in my eyes, I have tears in my eyes now because to realize that my rebellion and my abandonment made God feel how I felt at certain times in my life. It kind of brings tears to your eyes because I never
it's a
want
hurtful
anybody to
thing.
feel that. You never want anybody to feel that type of pain.
Yep,
Um, but yet and still, when we do things and we're not obedient, that's the way he feels. And you
that's
need
the
to
way you feel.
understand that that's how you're making your God, the God that does, that he still continue with you and he's still there, but
Mhm.
crying and staying, mourning over you and staying
Right.
with love in his eyes, arms wide open, stay, you know, and it does, it brings, tears to my eyes.
Yeah, I listen. I thank God because at any point in time, he could have just said, "Give you two fingers to the side, sir, and have a great life." But for whatever reason, he looked at all of us, and she just left. All right, and for whatever reason, he has been merciful towards all of us, and he continued. He is the God of a second chance. Not only a second chance, but he's the God of a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a seventh chance. I mean, he is just that type of God. And I just want to encourage you to just be mindful of God's feelings, right? Because we think because he's just some great big old God and he can do any and all thing that he doesn't feel, that he doesn't, like he doesn't have the same emotions and feelings and go through some of the things that we go through. And he does, especially when it comes to his people or those who he called his. I believe that when he sees us not living up to our expectation, he's disappointed, he's saddened, he feels those things the same as we would with our own children when they're not doing what we would expect them to do. So let's start to consider God's feelings more in our actions, right? Consider the fact that he's done for you and how quickly we sometimes turn on him when things don't work out the way that we expect them to work out, right? And I know sometimes that's just a human experience, but let's start to consider God more. That's your homework for this week. Consider God more in everything that you do, things that you say, and how you act. And I believe if you did that, you will listen. You'll start to be a little bit more sensitive to what the Lord has for you and wants for you. And I believe that you'll be blessed. Listen, time is rolling on. It is now 9:54. Morning service is about to begin. If you are on the south side of Chicago, I encourage you to stop by the Faith Place Chicago, where our pastor and founder is Henry Lee Razor. We are at 354 West 71st Street. I believe that if you came by and you would be blessed in our service. So listen, on behalf of Evangelist Wiley and myself and the Faith Place Chicago, I want to say thank you and God bless you. You guys have a wonderful week. And as my mama used to say, if my four walls don't become my grave and my bed don't become my cooling board, I will see you all back here next week, same time, same channel. So until we talk again, my friends, you all be blessed and we will see you soon. Bye bye.